Speaking to us about the impact of extended course oral Paxlovid in established long COVID are Alison Cohen, Assistant Professor in Epidemiology and Biostatistics at the University of California, San Francisco, along with Gina Asaf, who is a co-founder and co-lead at Patient-Led Research Collaborative. They will give us a condensed talk of about 12 minutes, and we'll have a very short Q&A afterward. So, ladies, please, the stage is all yours.
So I'm Gina Asaf, a long COVID patient and co-founder and lead of PLRC, Patient-Led Research Collaborative. In this presentation, I'll give an overview of the Patient-Led Research Collaborative, and Alison, who is a member of our collaborative as well, will describe the results of our patient-led case series on people with long COVID taking extended courses of Paxlovid. Next slide, please. So PLRC was founded as an emergency response early in the coronavirus pandemic when long COVID was new to us and to everyone else. Born from the Body Politics Support Group, we published the first report on long COVID in May of 2020. This is where we identified prolonged recovery from COVID, multisystemic symptoms, issues with testing and stigma way before it was being talked about. And our work has led us to work with the WHO, CDC, NIH, CMSS, NAMPR, and many other organizations. And we were a team of about 60 interdisciplinary patient researchers and patient activists who have published research on long COVID since April 2020. Our backgrounds are in biomedical research, participatory research, neuroscience, cognitive science, public policy, machine learning, digital health, human-centered design, and health activism. And we have intimate personal knowledge of COVID-19 ourselves. And there's my cat behind me showing herself. We believe that those who experience an illness can best identify research questions and solutions. As such, we ground our work in participatory research methods and the principles of disability justice. Our organization conducts research and advocacy on long COVID and creates frameworks for patient-led research models. Some of our work, is listed here. So we've documented over 200 symptoms of long COVID in Lancet's eClinical Medicine paper. We co-authored a review on long COVID research in Nature Reviews, microbiology, which is in the top 0.0009% of research outputs ever tracked. And we've consulted on dozens of long COVID studies. We also, in the past year or so, awarded, had a panel of patient researchers award $5 million in biomedical research funds for long COVID and associated conditions. And through all of this, we have outputted frameworks for a patient-led model as well, such as the scorecards to evaluate meaningful patient engagement. And we did this in collaboration with the CMSS, which is the Council of Medical Specialty Societies. We also published a hypothesis quarterly for long COVID researchers generated by patients. And in our advocacy, we have presented policy recommendations to Congress, HHS, CDC, Department of Labor, and much more. And we are advocating in our work for funding, better research and care, and better tracking and support. And I'm going to pass it off to Alison to go into detail on the Paxlovid case.
Okay, great. So I'll get started talking about our study, which is basically this idea that, as Gina talked about, Patient-Led Research Collaborative is all about generating evidence that responds to the urgent research questions of people like us with long COVID. And so this is saying, we had knowledge of these prior case series that found that 5-day courses of Paxlovid benefited some people with long COVID. Randomized control trials were beginning to test longer courses of Paxlovid, but still have not yet shared findings. And many people on their own with long COVID were just trying some of these longer courses of Paxlovid on their own, kind of in silos. It wasn't necessarily getting documented. And so as I and other members of our team started to hear about more of these folks giving this a try, it seemed worth trying to systematically document those experiences so that they could be useful to the broader patient community, and as well as the clinical research community that are doing some of these randomized control trials. So this is the first case series of people with long COVID who have attempted longer courses of Paxlovid. And so by longer course, we just mean more than 5 days. And then Paxlovid is the brand name. The generic name is nirmatrelvir or ritonavir, so that's why you'll see both. And so our method is taking a patient-led approach. So almost all of the co-authors on this manuscript have lived experience with long COVID. And we wanted to really center the lived experiences of people with long COVID. So the way that this all came about was by people sharing their stories, sometimes in like group settings online, or by contacting different folks and sharing experiences versus by word of mouth. And so among the folks that shared their experiences in these different ways, everyone was invited to say like, hey, thank you for sharing your experience. Are you interested in this being documented so that it can be shared more broadly outside of our own individual networks? And people were enthusiastic about that. So we had 13 different people whose experiences are represented in this case series. And one of the things that's great too about this patient-led approach is that often case series can be written by doctors that can be somewhat removed from the patient experience. All of the patients whose cases are included here not only had the opportunity to review and edit the text that described their own case, but also had the opportunity to join the manuscript as a co-author. And I'm really delighted that many of the cases that are included in this case series are also among our authorship team. So this is probably what you actually care about, which is, so what did we find? So we had 13 cases of people who had long COVID and took Paxlovid. Most of these tried this long course of Paxlovid outside of the context of an acute infection. 2 folks took it within the context of a reinfection. And we have people who got long COVID at various points in time throughout the pandemic. So from different strains of COVID, and also who had therefore took this long course of Paxlovid at different lengths of time since their initial infection. I'll also note, just since I know we have an international audience, there was international participation in this case series, with the constraint that because of our own long COVID networks, all of the experiences that people shared with us were shared in English. So we didn't necessarily get as broad geographic representation as we would have liked. So this is all. I'll also, after we stop sharing the slides, I'll share a link to the preprint, or Gina, if you have access to chat too, you're also welcome to put a link to the preprint in now. There's also going to be a QR code at the end. So this is just some screenshots of our table. So you can see that we have people of a variety of ages, a variety of genders, a variety of times in which they had their initial COVID infection, and also when their initial long COVID symptoms started. So basically like from March 2020 onwards. Most folks tried a 15-day course of Paxlovid. Some tried different. One person tried 10 days, one person tried 30 days. And you see basically that some people experienced short-term improvement with Paxlovid. So that's short-term improvement in the long COVID symptoms as they described. Some people had sustained improvement with Paxlovid. So short-term improvement means that there was some short-term benefit, but then it may have gone away. Whereas if it was short-term but also sustained, that means that like there were improvements that were long-lasting, and that people were continuing to experience those benefits. And then many of you are probably aware that there are side effects of Paxlovid, and so some people did experience side effects as well. And then we also have 2 folks who took Paxlovid outside of
Time remaining 2 minutes.
Like within the context of an acute infection. And so that's case 12 and 13. And both of those folks took that extended course of Paxlovid while they were testing positive during their acute infection of their reinfection. And then we report on how long it took them to return to their pre-reinfection baseline. So it's not necessarily saying that it made all of their long COVID symptoms disappear, but it allowed them to, that when the acute reinfection worsened their symptoms, they were eventually able to return to their baseline. So any study is going to have lots of strengths and lots of limitations. Some strengths to highlight here is that we had heterogeneous cases, so diverse folks with diverse experiences. We know that the population of people with long COVID is very diverse, and so we were able to illustrate some of the different experiences that folks have, including the symptoms. that was going to be a mess to put into the table, but you can see a very detailed description of all the symptoms in our preprint. And it was grounded in these patient-led and participatory approaches to draw knowledge from outside of traditional medical institutions. So we relied on what patients told us, and not necessarily that detail of their experiences may have been present if, for example, we had tried to access electronic health records. That said, there are always going to be limitations, right? I'm an epidemiologist. 13 people is large for a case study and small for like some of these like big, huge cohort studies that epidemiologists do. And there was, you know, everyone who was involved was somewhat networked with other people with long COVID, just in terms of being able to hear about this in the first place. And everyone had at least some technological savvy to be able to communicate over the internet or phone. And as I mentioned before, everyone spoke English. All right, most important part. What are some of the key takeaways? So treatment was generally well tolerated, right? A few folks experienced adverse side effects. Only one person stopped Paxlovid as a result of that. And again, right, there was heterogeneity in the symptoms that they had, how long they had had it. And some of the folks experienced sustained improvement. Now, what we don't know, because this is only 13 people, is why did those particular folks experience sustained improvement and others didn't, and how can we use that to inform potential strategies? But nevertheless, it still contributes to burgeoning research suggesting that at least some individuals can benefit from antiviral therapy outside of the acute phase of infection. And it's also basically worth continuing to study this, thinking about randomized controlled clinical trials, and thinking about how this can inform clinical recommendations and scaling up the potential use of antivirals as an option among possible treatments for long COVID. And then just finally, that this kind of real world evidence from patient reports can be useful in terms of doing for other treatments that people are trying to inform the clinical trials that come next. So tried to make this easy. If you want to take a picture of this, this is the QR code that will link you to the preprint, but otherwise I can't add to the chat right now. Otherwise, once I stop sharing slides. 2, we'll put the link to the preprint 2 for folks that are interested in more information. And we've also put our email addresses and Twitter for folks to follow as well.
Thank you, Alison Cohen and Gina Assaf. Have you got time for a few quick questions? I shoot from the hip, my new hip. So you've touched on side effects. Many people wanted to know, are there side effects to be expected while taking Paxlovid over a longer time?
I just typed in as a question the link to the preprint too, in case that's helpful.
Yeah,
I mean, we are not your clinician. We are not recommending that anyone necessarily. It's always worth talking to a healthcare provider about potential side effects as well as potential interactions with any other medications that folks are on. So yeah, there's a very long list of side effects that people have experienced due to Paxlovid. So you can read about the particular side effects that our cases experienced, but also like if you just Google Paxlovid side effects, you'll see all of the different like FDA and other sources that have documented this much more thoroughly. And yeah, it's a great question too about, are there other side effects to think about? Because all of those are for folks that are taking it in the 5-day, and that is definitely something that will need to be studied further.
All right, another quick one. Jennifer asks, why just focus on Paxlovid? There are a bunch of antivirals like acyclovir and maraviroc that can be combined. The focus only on Paxlovid is short-sighted and strange, she says. What's your opinion?
It'll be great to, this was a labor of love that happened because a lot of folks were talking about this and we wanted to document it. It'll be great to do similar studies of those ones as well. So this is not Paxlovid instead of those. This is hopefully Paxlovid in addition to those. The main constraint is time. All of us have limited spoons when we're dealing with our own health constraints. So hopefully others will be able to do those, and or our team will be able to do those as time and energy permit.
All right, thank you. I think we're going to wrap it up. Thank you, Alison Cohen and Gina Assaf.
Yeah, and it
Thanks
looks
for
like there
having
are
me
a
here.
few more questions too, so folks can also feel free to email us. Yeah, if there's anything.
All right, thank you.